I guess the proper venue would be the EOC director to look into this and see exactly what's going on and what needs to happen as it relates to what the building is being used for, who owns the building. As far as does any other, I see Ms. Callan has your light on. Ms. Callan?
Yes, I was going to recommend that our EOC director, along with our county administrator, look into the matter. With an 1,100 square feet building, perhaps it could become a shared facility if it's being used. But I'm just waiting to hear your report before I make my conclusion.
Okay. Any other supervisors would like to make a comment or statement regarding this particular issue?
Yes, Mr. President.
Mr. Stokes?
Mr. President, and two items. I don't know. Looking at the roster, I don't know if it's codes or what. Once we get to 13, in terms of names, then it go to 22, 30, 72 by the names. Did they just misnumber the names?
You're talking about the fire department roster?
Yes.
Right. Chief, could you answer that?
It is by their rank as they join. We're divided by captains, lieutenants, firefighters, nurses, paramedics. So as we call out, if I have someone in the range of 20, I know that's a nurse. The range of 30s are paramedics. If they only have firefighter training and no medical, they'd be in the 70s. So it's just a way that we rank our departments. They're not listed numerically by the way that they join.
But that might confuse some people. You look this and somewhere down the line you need to put that on there because you start 1, 2, 3, everything is numerical. In order, then we get to 22, 30, 55, and like that. Now the second issue, I think that the volunteer fire department should have comfortable and adequate spacing, but I still believe that the first step should be talking to the supervisor in that district. That's just like number 72, who was just a firefighter. Instead of going to the chief with a problem, he'd go to the chief head. Protocol is always in order. So that would be my position. Talk to the supervisor. Don't come in and slam the supervisor and the emergency gentleman. These are people that need to help you because they probably have a side of a story that we haven't heard. So I think working together, we can come up with a common goal because we're all on the same page. Thank you.
Okay,
Could I say something?
Just a second, please. Thank you very much, Mr. Stokes. Is there any other supervisor that would like to make a comment? Okay, no comments from any other supervisor. Yes, sir, you can speak.
Our previous chief has attempted to address this situation with Mr. Anderson, and again, it was closed discussion. I tried to go through my channels with my EOC director, and I was told it was a moot point. It wasn't open for discussion. And so I had nowhere else to turn to me except the board.
And you the chief. You need to try to talk to the supervisor,
yes,
not the previous one.
Okay. Thank you very much, and we will respond to you in writing. The EOC director will work directly with as Ms. Calhoun suggested, with the county administrator to make sure that we address this particular issue. We will continue with the printed agenda. Mrs. Davis.
Yes, thank you, sir. Next on the agenda is Deputy Keith Liu, Hinds County Sheriff's Department, with a request for the board.
Good morning, Mr. Liu.
Good morning, Mr. President and board members. I've got on the agenda this morning a request to purchase 2 vehicles. It's actually 3 vehicles. It's talking about here. The first 2 vehicles will be purchased from, one would be purchased from general fund, a line that we have budgeted for 1 vehicle a year, so the DUI seatbelt enforcement group. Dodge Charger. The price on this one's $24,900. With the equipment, that is it. That's the price on that one. That includes the vehicle equipment.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Is this the one vehicle of the three?
Yes, sir. You want to group them all, or you want to give me
You can just
information
go
on
ahead and group them all unless some supervisor wants to change it.
Okay, the next vehicle is a Dodge Charger as well, with the police package and the police equipment. This one has additional equipment on it from the dealer. The total amount is $26,793, and those funds are also in the sheriff's budget.
Okay.
The next vehicle is a Chevrolet Tahoe 2012 coming from Gray Daniels. We received 2 quotes. The first one was from Gray Daniels. The second one from Heron Gear. Gray Daniels was the cheapest of the two, $31,024. The price on the from Heron Gear, I think, is $36,495.
Okay.
Request approval to purchase the vehicle from Gray Daniels.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Discussion, Mr. Fisher?
The vehicles that the previous sheriff had, what is the status of it? Where does it go?
It will be utilized within the administrative staff of the department. As these vehicles get passed down, we work closely with Mr. Robinson to deadline any of the vehicles that have a trip to the moon on it. And we have plenty of those.
Okay.
Question.
Discussion, Mr. Stokes?
You named 3 vehicles. You said a 2012 Tahoe.
Yes, sir.
We're not transporting prisoners in that, I know.
Yes, sir.
The use for that is what?
For the sheriff.
Okay. The second vehicle was what?
We actually have 2 more. Both of these were the Dodge Chargers.
Per year model.
This particular one is 2011. Both of them are 2011.
What's that purpose?
DUI seatbelt enforcement, traffic, for one of them. The other one is for the use of Chief Deputy Piku.
How much insurance each vehicle would take?
I'm sorry?
How much insurance would have to be paid for each vehicle?
The vehicles are covered under, I'm speaking of something I'm not sure of, it's taken care of by the county. I think it's covered under the umbrella plan.
For insurance?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, finally, do we take, I think you used the word deadline. You know, we increasing the fleet. Are we taking some off?
Yes, sir. We will. We work
3 or
close.
more?
It would be at least 3, I'm sure. As we add to, we'll work with Mr. Robinson, the central repair director, he can tell us what vehicles are not safe to operate, and he has input in that.
So if we add 3, we're going to probably take off 3%.
More than likely, yes, sir.
But you can't say yes or no that it's definitely going to happen.
That's what our goal is, to work to do that, yes.
Do you have a total number how many vehicles we currently have at the sheriff's department and how many total we have with the county?
No,
Sheriff's department. That's all right.
We can get that.
we can prepare whatever you need, but yeah, we don't miss it.
Thank you.
Okay. Any additional discussion? It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of? Opposed to? Motion passes. Will the clerk please read the order?
Resolved to approve the purchase of 3 vehicles for the Sheriff's Department, 2 2011 Chargers for $24,900 and $26,792, and 1 2012 Chevy Tahoe for $31,024.
Okay. Thank you very much. Before we continue on, Ms. Davis, I'd just like to acknowledge the fact that my wife and daughter are here this morning, and I just wanted to make sure that I recognize them so I can at least have dinner this afternoon. So I want to make sure that I do that. My wife and my daughter are here from Los Angeles, so I just wanted to just acknowledge that we will go ahead and continue with the printed agenda.
Mr. President, I want to eat too. my wife is here also. Thank you so much.
Okay. Any other wives or husbands here? We need to make sure everybody eats. Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Mr. Stokes. Mrs. Davis, continue.
Yes, thank you. Next item on the agenda is showing Mrs. Bridget Smith, Director of Personnel. However, no personnel matters for your consideration. Next item, Mr. Clarence Williams, Human Capital Development. I don't believe any items are to be presented to you today, as well as purchasing, and that leads us down to Ms. Woods, Budget and Finance Coordinator with Budget Amendment.
Good morning, Supervisor Graham and members of the board. Today I have the budget amendments to be approved. These amendments represent the second quarter allocation for the tax collector, the tax assessor, and the sheriff's department for approval.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
It's been moved and properly second. Discussion? All those in favor of?
Aye.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Will the clerk please read the order?
Resolved to approve the budget amendments. These amendments represent the second quarter allocation for the tax collector, tax assessor, and sheriff's department.
Thank you very much. Continue, please.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Mrs. Davis?
Yes. Next item is emergency purchases. There are no emergency purchases. There's 1 minute insertion. However, no action is required by the board. That concludes county administrator items.
Okay. We now go to or move to Mrs. Crystal Wise Martin, the board attorney.
Mr. President, the only items I have are for executive session.
Okay. Thank you very much. We will continue the printed agenda with Mr. Carl Felix, the Public Works Director.
Good morning, Mr. President. Good morning. My item is request approval of the establishment and implementation of a road sign maintenance program that addresses sign reflectivity requirements.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board?
So moved.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Discussion? All those in favor of?
Aye.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Will the clerk please read the order?
Resolved to approve the request to the approval of the establishment and implementation of a road sign maintenance program that addresses sign reflectivity requirements.
Mr. President,
Mr. Stokes?
Mr. Felix, so reading your background information, I think you said about 2018?
2012. We have that
2012.
program in place.
And when does all the signs have to be changed? I think it was 2018 or 16, something like that. And second, do you have a sign shop, or do you have to?
By 2015, all agencies must comply with the new retroreflectivity requirements for most of their traffic signs that they have installed. By January 2018, all agencies must comply with the new retroreflectivity requirements for overhead guide signs in all street signs.
Do you have a sign shop?
We do have a sign shop for some road signs, and some of them we outsource.
Okay. Now, is it economically better to increase your employee base? Because that's a lot of signs that have to be done versus outsourcing.
Well, we have a program where we use expected sign life. So we don't have to change all of them. We look at how old the sign is, and we also purchase 2 reflectometers that will measure the sign reflectivity. So we're in the process of doing that, and we will bring a report back to the board.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President.
Okay. Thank you very much. We will continue on, Mr. Felix.
That's everything. Thank you.
Okay. We will now go to the Honorable Ms. Eddie Jean Parr, Chancery Clerk.
Good morning again, Mr. President, members of the board. At the first meeting of every even year, the board accepts bids from local banks to be county depositories. We have those bids. We will open them at this time, and then we will take one motion to accept all the eligible banks. The first bid is from Liberty Bank and Trust in Jackson, Mississippi. Their letter and treasurer's certificate is attached. The next bid is from Omni Bank out of Jackson, Mississippi. Their letter and treasurer's certificate is attached. The next is from AmSouth Bank. I believe this is actually Regions Bank now. The envelope says AmSouth on the end. The inside is Regions Bank. Their letter and depository certificate is attached. The next is from Merchants and Planners Bank in Raymond, Mississippi. Their letter and depository certificate is attached. The next is from Hancock Bank of Gulfport, Mississippi. Their letter and their depository certificate is attached. The next bid is from Bancorp South in Jackson, Mississippi. Their letter and their depository certificate is attached. The next is from Bank Plus out of Jackson, Mississippi. Their letter is attached, but there is no depository certificate. Or treasurer's certificate, excuse me. State Bank and Trust out of Jackson, Mississippi. Their letter and depository certificate is attached.
What's the name again?
State Bank and Trust Company. And the final one is from Trustmark National Bank. And of course, that's in Jackson, Mississippi. And their letter and depository certificate is attached. At this time, we would ask that you approve all of the banks which submitted their letters complying with Mississippi Code pursuant to the holding of public funds, and also included their depository certificate. That will not include Bank Plus.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. Discussion?
Yes.
Mr. Stokes?
Look at us now. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Big ones. 8 banks right now. Do we select one with the best bid, or we use all?
These are banks that are authorized by any agency within the county to hold public funds. Our current Treasury's account is with Trustmark National Bank. The board has a policy by which that you bid that out for a 3-year term. That term will come up again this October. So this summer we'll be presenting the board with the recommendation to advertise for bids for depository services, not just depository bids. These only allow them to hold public funds.
What's the maximum
Any
amount?
department can use any bank that's on this list. If the bank is not on this list, that means no department can use it.
What's the maximum amount can be placed in there? Is there a limit?
There is no limit.
There's no limit
No, sir.
for any of these banks. Do we have already accounts? Ms. Carter, do your office keep up with how much we have in each of these banks?
Each department has its own. I have my own. The tax collector has his own. The tax assessor. Any department who has accounts do their own.
But there's got to be one agency that keep a record. Is that not the?
Yes.
Yeah.
That should be your office.
Yes.
As supervisor, we want to find out how much we have in these different banks.
Yeah.
We can find out from you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Actually, Mr. Stokes, the law requires that at the end of each fiscal year, which is September 30th, that the Board of Supervisors, and Mrs. Carr provides that to the board, that we present to the State Treasurer's Office a listing of every bank, every account, and the amount of cash in that account as of September 30th. And we do that annually. It's due at the State Treasurer's Office no later than 30 days after the end of the fiscal year, which is October 30th. If you would like a copy of that report.
I would, and I think I would like to know it more than once a year. Ms. Carr, I know you may not know off the top of your head. Are we currently using all of these banks? I'm talking about with all the different divisions of county government.
We were not using State Bank and Trust.
That's the only bank we're not using, but we're using the rest. Okay, thank you.
All right, we'll continue. Any additional discussion? All right, go ahead, continue, please.
You need to do that.
Yes,
Okay.
carry a motion.
All those in favor of? Opposed to? Motion passes.
And at this time, we'll have to request that you reject the bid from Bank Plus.
Okay? It's been moved. Is there a second? It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Discussion, Mr. President.
Discussion, Mr. Stokes.
And I know when there's a bid, you have to follow the law to the level. But Bank Plus, I don't bank with Bank Plus. I don't have a relationship with them. But if they did not present the treasury certificate, and I know it's a technicality, are we gonna? Is it legal that we could? We got almost 9 banks, and to exclude them because of that technicality, are they able to perfect their bid? I guess I'm asking.
Mr. Stokes, there are situations where an entity can perfect a bid if there is a mere technicality. However, I don't have enough facts about this particular incident to determine whether this is simply a mere technicality or a complete disregard for the bid laws.
Could we, Mr. President, could I just request that we give legal enough time to check with them and check with the Attorney General's office, make sure we're on sound footing, just in case it's a technicality with this particular bank?
Correct. If you want to move to just lay it to the side until at which time the legal has an opportunity to give us further guidance on it. I don't know if we have to do that today, Ms. Carr.
We're here for the training, but
Okay.
they did not comply with the bid. So it's going to be up to legal to give us some guidance on this.
Okay. So if we do need to make another motion, we'll make a motion to lay it to the side until which time that the board attorney can make a determination as to what we need to do with this particular issue.
So moved.
Okay.
You have a motion and a second on the floor first.
You should
Okay.
probably withdraw.
We're going to withdraw those. Is it okay with
Supervisor.
who made the motion?
Supervisor Fisher made the motion, Mr. Anderson seconded.
Fisher, as far as your motion regarding this particular issue, would you like to continue with it, or would you like to withdraw it until the...
And we can withdraw it and look at it again, but I think if they don't comply, they don't comply. That's the reason the process is put into place. And if 9 out of 10 comply, then we come back and then that one who didn't comply in, once you open the door, but if there's a member of the board who would like to have this looked into for his own edification and benefit, I certainly have no problem with that.
Okay. Ms. Barton, do you think that you might be able to get that before the end of this board meeting, or is it going to take you some time to do the research?
It's going to take me a couple of days to do the research just because we're near executive session.
Okay. The motion has been withdrawn. What about the second?
Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Anderson?
You withdraw the second?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Anderson withdraws the second, and we'll lay this item on the table or to the side until which time the board attorney can give us further direction as to which way we need to go. Continue, please.
Ms. Hayes will present the remaining items for you.
Good morning, Board and Board President. For you this morning, I have for your approval the order canceling the tax sales, authorizing refunds, and reassessment changes to the assessment rolls.
What's the pleasure of the board? It's been moved and properly second. Discussion? All those in favor of?
Aye.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Will the clerk please read the order?
Resolved to approve orders canceling tax sale, authorizing refund reassessment to the reassessment changes to the assessment rolls, and the listing will be provided for that.
Okay, continue, please.
Mr. President,
Mr. Stokes?
and I know I should have brought this up before maybe we voted, but do we get a copy of this to look at? You know, I know it might be routine, but it seems like we need to be able to view this.
Yes, Supervisor Fisher previously asked for those. The ones that we do have prior to the meeting, sometimes the tax assessor office bring them to us the morning of the meeting. So sometimes I don't have a chance to send them to you. Like as of this morning, I only had one, but now I have about 12. So it just depends on when they actually give them to me. But when I do have them in my folder prior to the meeting, I will scan and email them to the supervisor.
Okay.
And generally, we get those emails as late as Friday afternoon. You know,
Just like this morning,
right at cleaning time. So.
he'll bring them to me. So it's, unless it's a protocol that y'all want to have it to me by a certain time in order to put it on the agenda, then
We'll work as hard as we can to expedite it with the tax assessor's office so that we can get it to you when we get the claims and the other information to you.
Thank you.
Okay, continue, please.
next we also have an order approving it, the additions and deletions of the supplemental roll for the homestead exemptions for the year 2011.
Move approved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of?
Aye.
Opposed to? Motion passes. Okay, continue, please.
Next, we have an order from the Department of Revenue approving the real and personal rolls of 2011. These are the rolls that we submitted to the Department of Revenue, and they're just in their approval with the signature.
Okay, what's the pleasure of the board? It's been moved and properly second. All those in favor of? Opposed to? Motion passes.
Did the roles change much?
I'd have to double check. We did have about 3,000 less homestead exemptions this year than we had last year.
In terms of assessed value?
I'd have to get that for you, Mr. Stuckey, because I just can't remember it on the top of my head. I can't tell you that.
Is the tax assessor in? Is he anywhere around?
He's left.
No, it's not. We can get it if you need that information.
Well, the only thing I think that's important, we want to make sure that when you start talking about budget and money, Ms. Woods, that we know whether or not we're looking at bringing more money in or less in or something. This is the final documentation, I think, now. That somebody got me. If I'm wrong, what we approve here today is supposed to be what's coming in to this county.
Okay.
If I recall correctly, Supervisor Stokes, we will receive a 2% increase. Now that's in the unincorporated areas of Hinds County.
We can get Mr. Stokes to get that information to you.
Just a copy of the others, a copy of stuff from my file. Thank you.
Okay. All right, continue on, please.
Next, we have the mini insertions that do not require any action on your part, but we have one mini insertion we would like to add, and it's the holiday notice for the closing of business on January 16, 2012 for Dr. Martin Luther King birthday and Robert E. Lee holiday.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board? All right, thank you. All right. We will continue with the
Mr.
agenda.
President,
Mr. Stokes.
On minute search, I'm going to no. And it's because of the, and I know she said that we don't have to vote on this interfund thing, Mr. President, and I mean Ms. Woods try to get some clarity about it, but I want the record to show anytime I see interfund, my position is no. But secondly, in terms of minute insertions, who make the determination what's going to be a minute insertion?
I believe there are documents that have already been presented or voted on by the board, and these are just documents that we've gotten at a later date that just go into the minutes that need to be over.
They usually that maybe
Or just
contracts,
general
interlocal agreement, things that have already taken, the board has already voted on, in addition to things that may come across our desk that we feel that should be included in the minutes.
Okay, but any minute insertion will be brought back to this body to see. Is that correct?
See, they've already been
Yeah, anything that's actually already been approved that the board needs, it just needs to go across the minutes. These are how they get into the minutes once it's already been approved.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because this minute insertion kind of bothers me if something is inserted and we speak through our minutes and our votes.
There are only actions of the board that are in your minutes insertion, in addition to things like the Department of Revenue, the signed letter, because we want people to be able to see that information is in minutes.